It's clear that the faculty member is annoyed by the student not incorporating the faculty member's feedback into their work. But note how the faculty member chalked it up to a deliberate refusal to listen. When someone doesn't do something we tell them, we often immediately assume malicious intent, and as a result generate what are sometimes called moral reactive attitudes towards a person. These are reactions such as offense or anger that arise in us as a result of a moral judgment that we make about someone else. Now, it's possible that the student preferred to see their grade suffer rather than listen to the feedback, but that doesn't seem likely. A more likely answer is that the student did not get the feedback, they didn't understand it, or they didn't understand how to apply it. The important point is to take emotion out of the conversation and focus instead on correcting the student's problem. You may initially feel a moral reactive attitude like offense, but you need to bracket that when you're speaking to students. The statement above would only put the student on the defensive and probably create a negative impression of the faculty member in the student's mind. This would make future feedback even less effective. Here it would have been better to try to figure out why the student is not applying the feedback. The faculty member could point out that the student made the same mistake that they had made in the last paper, and then invite discussion on the topic to see why the student is not getting it. This leads to the final issue of dialogue in learning. Teachers tend to focus on how they can push out information to their students. But often the best learning comes when information is pulled from the student through dialogue. Of course, Socrates believed that all learning happens through dialogue. He knew that knowledge was not transferred from the head of the teacher to the student like water moving between vases, but rather is built within the mind of the student by the student through reflection and response. The best dialogue is sometimes described as a kind of thinking together, where both parties are collaborators and co-investigators in a topic. Adult students in particular may see dialogue as a sign of the more equal relationship they have with faculty. Plus, live dialogue will more easily allow faculty to identify misconceptions that might have been lying behind the students' problems. Research on teaching has produced some suggestions for how faculty can use dialogue to improve learning. First, an instructor can simply check in with the student to see how the class is going. The faculty member can ask the student what they think to be the major challenge that the student is working on and how the student is approaching the challenge. The check-in is also a good time to discuss study skills and the types of activities that go on behind the assignment submission that are critical to a student's success. A faculty member may discover a problem in the student's study skills, and a simple suggestion may make a world of difference in the outcome in the student's performance. The check-in process itself will also improve student motivation by showing them that the faculty member cares for the student's learning. The student may even feel more compelled to perform for the faculty member because of the concern that's been shown for them. The check-in also allows students to share concerns and questions that may not have come up on particular assignments, but are nevertheless relevant to their overall learning. It also allows them to reflect on their learning experience and especially their own mental state. These check-ins are a good opportunity for faculty to get a sense of how the student is doing and how they're regulating their own emotions and their own mental status. A second possibility is to use dialogue to have the student think through a problem. This is an excellent opportunity for instructors to model thinking for their students. As teachers, we often don't do that enough. But a carpenter will not just tell an apprentice how to hammer in a nail, the carpenter will model the process. Similarly, teachers can model the very thinking process that they are hoping students will pick up. Reading and understanding academic work requires strategies that the instructor can demonstrate. The instructor can talk about how he or she reads academic papers, what they look for, and especially how they identify the central insights that make a work relevant. Plus, as mentioned earlier, graduate students are expected to eventually join the professional community to become peers of the instructor. And this means adopting the ways of thinking of that community. The instructor can use these live sessions as an opportunity to model the thinking process of a professional in that community. And this may be a huge benefit to the student's learning. Now let's stop for one more activity. Compare the two feedback samples below. How are they different? Ask yourself what you think of their effectiveness and jot down your thoughts in the worksheet. Pause the presentation to write your answer and then hit play again to move on.